there we were beneath the burning sky. Both had a reason to live, but so much more to die. Will fate decide who has to go? Oh, oh. We both know pain, but we deal it too. Who's dealt more? Well, I leave that up to you. I circle round, but you double back every time I turned you. There in fact, well, I guess I met my match. I drew fast, but he drew first. Had to make me bleed to quench his thirst. Oh, well, now I know. This is how it ends. Let's just not pretend that I've always walked this path alone, and you will never see the likes of me again. Though I may have saved you once or twice, it never made me a hero, my friend. With my final breath I'll repair and hope to be forgiven for my sins. After all, we were two monsters dead set. He left off his suit and tie, another target on his mind. He did not see me creep up from behind. For one long day and one painful night, I waited to take him, but by surprise he was so unaware and unafraid to die. This is how it ends. Let's just not pretend that we never walked this path alone. They will never see the likes of us again. Though we may have saved a life or two, it never made us heroes, my friend. With our final breath we repair, hope to be forgiven for our sins. After all, we were two monsters dead set to the dead.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the People's Pension and welcome in particular to the first ever episode of Talk of the Town. For the next 45 minutes, we will be here bringing you live updates from the stadium and the Fast Signs pod here in the corner of the ground. We'll have plenty of guests popping in to give us interviews and give us updates of what has been going on over the past couple of weeks as the season has got underway. Our thanks go to the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance, who have now provided the funding for us to put on today's production. So I'll thank you to them, and we'll be talking more about that later on in the show. But for now, let's move on to what will be going on throughout the afternoon. We'll have Erdem Konya, Technical Director, popping in to talk to us about what the start of the season that the Reds have made and the transfer policies that have gone on. We'll have John Yems himself popping in to discuss today's team and what we're expecting from today, this afternoon's game. Tom Onwin will pop in to talk about the protocols that have been in place during this COVID pandemic. We'll have Gary Smith from BBC Radio to tell us what to expect from Scunthorpe and giving us his knowledge and stats from his research. But to start off with, let's go and have a look at how the Reds got on last week away at Port Vale. Delighted to say I'm joined by Technical Director Erdem Konya. Of course, before we speak to Erdem, you can follow the game from 3 p.m. on iFollow. Go to the club's website, follow the links and create an account and you will be able to watch the game live if you're a season ticket holder for free or £10 for non-season ticket holders. If you want to get involved with the show, you can do so by using the hashtag #TalkOfTheTown on Twitter. We'll be running a competition at the end to see who wins a new away shirt. So use the hashtag to enter the competition, give your comments on the show. We also want to hear your predictions for this afternoon's game. So that's using the hashtag #TalkOfTheTown. Erdem, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Giving some time. We've made 9 signings over the summer.
Yes, we
so
have.
we've been quite busy.
Yeah.
Who do you expect to be making an impact quickly at the start of the season of those signings?
I think I expect Tony Craig to straight away, and he has to prove to be a leader in the team, to make us more organised, more vocal. I expect Tyler Frost to have a good impact. He's shown that in the training, and I think he's shown that against Gillingham a lot. I'd say I think those two for me are the ones, and Sam Matthews, of course, is a very, very important player, and I think Sam Matthews can have a good game today. I think Sam, if we can keep him fit, which I think we can, we've did a thorough medical on him, I think can be a very important player for this football club and can dictate what happens to our season.
You mentioned there about Sam Matthews having a good game today. Let's take a look at today's lineup. So Glenn Morris starts in goal. George Frankham, Tony Craig, Jordan Tunnicliffe and Josh Doherty make up the back four. We've got Ferguson and Bullman, Frost, Matthews making his debut, Nichols with his first start, and Ricardo German starts up front. I know it's obviously no Ashley Nadesan today, so Ricardo comes in. I know you're a big fan of Ricardo. He broke into the team last year. What are you hoping to see from Ricardo throughout this season?
Whatever happens with Ricardo this season, I expect to have 10 goals. I think we have a 50-50 chance of him having a massive season for us. I think his future is as a championship, or if he works harder and possibly with a bit of luck can be a Prem player. I hope it's this season that we see this evolve for us. If it's not, it'll be next season. But I think he has a raw strength, a raw pace and a raw ability that you can't coach. So that's why I believe in him a lot. We can't be too unfair on him, as he's a very young boy as well. So we have to see how the next weeks peter out with him doing well and where that leaves our offensive recruitment.
Yeah. I know we spoke earlier in the week and you mentioned just there about Tony Craig and how he's bringing some experience to the side. How important is that experience at a high level and sort of throughout the Football League? How important is that going to be for us as a football club?
I think it's very important in every club and in every team. The importance for us is when we've got such a young philosophy, it's important to have leaders in the team. Like when you have Glenn Morris, Tony Craig, Danny Bullman, and George Frankham now being a senior man. I think these four players, all the young players and everyone around them can look up to them because they've won promotions, they've played in the Championship, they've been part of Premier League setups. And I think sometimes when it's going against you, they're the type of lads that can show, that can give you the experience, that can put the arm around your shoulder. And I think these are the lads that can provide us, that point away or that last minute goal because they'll keep believing in us. And the youngers can look to them as experience. I mean, if Bully's 41, he's running more than anyone in midfield. So if I was 25, 26 and there's someone 41-year-old running more than me, well, that's a catalyst for me to work harder because I want to be at that age when I'm 41. So they're invaluable to the club.
And just finally, it's been a long summer, obviously, because of the crisis, and it's going to be a long season for all clubs, isn't it? Like on and off the field to get through it and survive, really.
For sure.
What are you hoping that the club as a whole can achieve this season?
It's a very good question. It's been a very difficult time. Once again, with underline, I thank yourself, Tom, Claire, for all the work that we've gone through as a non-furloughed key workers. But when I look at the big picture, I know fans may not like me saying this, but if I can finish top 14 this year, and we can as a club turn over a positive balance sheet, that will give this club a foundation that it hasn't had for the past 6-7 years. And that is crucial for the survival of this football club because at the moment I feel like there's a lot of clubs teetering on the edge. And it's a very slippery slope once you go down on as a financial burden to a football club.
Balance in the book so we don't go away off Macclesfield have done in the week.
Not that we are in it there, we're very lucky to have Mr. Zia Eren as our chairman because he forever has bankrolled this. I mean, for this last 5 years, he's always bankrolled and he hasn't taken a penny out. But what's important is that we have to have a strategy that if we do succeed and we do go up, there's a model that will keep us competitive in those leagues because we're always going to have a deficit of fans on other teams. So we have to look at the Accrington model, the Exeter model and the Brentford model. That's what I've personally tried to study a lot and it works because obviously you can see from Exeter they've had a terrible, I mean we're all in a virus, but the guy's making millions because the philosophy they put in. So the on ourselves and what we've done, the good side is we've got now more percentage sell-ons in the leagues above than we ever have in our 5 years here. So there's a philosophy growing that can hopefully lead in a massive revenue stream or a considerable revenue stream.
You described it to me the other day about having assets out in the Football League, effectively. They're not here wearing a Crawley shirt, but they're still assets. Yeah.
And that's key because, in League One, the asset is more valuable. So if we have a chunk of that, and it becomes interesting that Ollie Watkins and Nathan Ampadu have left Exeter. He's got a 4 million loan fee, I think, something, and he's got 400,000 from the loan fee coming into the club. Well, if we had 400,000 from a percentage sell-on, that near enough covers our season with a good break. With our increasing commercial revenue,
but it brings us closer.
And that's the most important, and a good cup run.
Yeah, one way that the club can generate money is through the Reds Bar, and we're going to see a little advert for Reds Bar now. By General Manager Tom Allman, who's had a very busy summer, getting the club sort of compliant and being able to get some fans in and get us moving again. Before we talk about the fans, let's talk about the training ground to start off with, and just getting the players back. Obviously, it's been maybe a month or two now that the players are back. What have you and the club had to put in place at the training ground to get the players back playing football?
Yeah, you're right. It's been a busy summer, and it's been a summer like no other, really. So the fact that we're back playing games is a godsend for everyone, really. But yeah, you mentioned the hard work started down at the training ground. I think the gaffer alluded to in a few of his interviews that up until that Palace pre-season game, I think they'd only been training as a complete squad for, I think it was 5 days. So yeah, the boys came back for pre-season, obviously later than usual. They were they had training groups of 5 initially. I think we've all joked about, Marcus having to disinfect the balls after every time someone had touched them. Every time different group changed, everything had to be sanitised. So
one of the most 2020 things I've seen is Marcus, the kit man, washing balls in a kid's paddling pool by sort of prodding them to make sure they're disinfected. Crazy.
Well, exactly, yeah, crazy. But it was great that everyone's bought into what's needed to have been done, and it's cliche, but things like training ground, things like the games on here today have all become the new normal for everyone, really.
And looking to today's game, obviously everything has changed at the stadium for everybody, but in particular the players, whereas before they might just turn up at between sort of 12:30 and 1:30 and come in and maybe have a water, a bit of banter between each other. That's all completely changed. So talk us through some of the protocols here at the stadium on match day that the players are having to go through.
Yeah, so the protocols start at the car park. Everyone, including the players, all get ID checked as soon as they come into the car park, and then cross-referenced on a plethora of lists. They then come in and they've got their temperature checks, their questionnaires to make sure they're fit and healthy. And then they come into the changing rooms. That's all changed, as you mentioned, socially distanced. The away team are currently going to be in the away changing room and then overflow up in your hospitality suite. So yeah, it really is all change. There's been a few early morning WhatsApp reminders from everyone on the group, remembering to bring their masks and their hand sanitizer and ID. But again, similar to the training ground, it's become the new normal, and everyone's really bought into it. And yeah, touch wood, we're going well.
Fantastic. And obviously the next thing now is to get fans back in the ground. Obviously been aiming for October, so there's a small number of clubs have got fans back in today, sort of at the top of 1,000. But even some of those clubs who are chosen to take part in those pilot games haven't been able to do so because obviously there's so many restrictions and getting everything in place in time. Where are we at, and what are we hoping for in terms of getting fans back in the ground?
So we're still firmly working towards the start of October for the green light to get fans in. That's as per the government regulations of return to sport and return to crowds. So we're still firmly working towards that. As you mentioned, the pilot schemes came a little bit too early for us. We've had quite a lot of work going on at the stadium, and as part of that, obviously for the pilot games you have to put in various applications to the safety groups, the Football League, and that just came a bit too soon for us. I've seen online that there's been a few sort of conspiracies that we didn't miss the boat and all this sort of stuff, and that's not the case. As you mentioned, there's a lot of teams that are doing a lot of work at the moment, and yeah, there was no guarantee we were going to be chosen anyway, so we're still firmly working towards hopefully the South End game. But again, we're going to be bound by people higher up, unfortunately.
Things are obviously changing, so at the moment we're still aiming for 3rd of October, is that right?
The South End game, 3rd of October, that's the aim.
Yeah, we'll have to see what comes out.
Yeah.
Looking at things sort of behind the scenes at the club, the shop. We're going on. Tell us a bit about when we're going on sale. What's going on sale in the shop?
Yeah, so we'll be. We've unveiled obviously the home kit. The boys will be out wearing this afternoon. I think everyone saw the pictures of the training kit that was released yesterday as well. The away kit will be launching in a matter of minutes, and then everything will be available both in the club shop and online from Monday 10 o'clock.
And one thing I know you get asked this question all the time. The scoreboard is obviously something that's been going on. Obviously, I think some people think you just buy it and put it up. Obviously, that's not the case. Can you tell us where we are with the scoreboard and what we're hoping to bring once the scoreboard is up? What are we going to be able to add to our match day?
Yeah, so the scoreboard, been well documented of various dates, various things like that. We're still firmly cracking on with the scoreboard. It's not something that's been sort of left off the agenda or forgotten about. It's just, again, in the current climate, we've got a lot of hoops to jump through, and being upfront and honest, the fundamental at the moment with the safety groups with the Football League, who are also compliant with the scoreboard, that main priority is getting fans in the ground firstly. So we'll be working towards getting that done first, and then the scoreboard will be coming firmly back on the agenda. Again, hopefully sooner rather than later. We are towards the final stages of that. So when fans are back in, might be a few games, but they'll be seeing something very shortly. And
obviously, I can see the manager on his way, but I'm going to try and get you to fill the time so I don't have to. Other things that are going on around the ground, obviously we've had new CCTV put in, a lot of things that people won't see, but actually moving the club forward into a more professional. Things like today, we like to think is a more professional way of moving the club forward. Can you tell us about any other things that are going on around the stadium that are moving us in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, pre-season's always a busy time anyway. You chuck in a global pandemic, it's even busier, but you mentioned the CCTV. Everyone's been really impressed with the service that Peter Frake and Innovation Fire and Security have been providing. You mentioned the scoreboard. In terms of the matchday entertainment, we're obviously looking to kick that up. Working with the Community Foundation, get some half-time entertainment going. Reds Bar, as you saw the advert for earlier. Everyone, we, as you mentioned, are all trying to kick on and bring the club to certainly another level off the field, and hopefully the boys can match that on.
Fingers crossed. Because Tom, thank you for your time. I know match days, particularly at the moment, are really busy for you. So thank you for
I think I've got a fruit salad waiting for me over there, so I'll be back over.
Oh, exciting. We mentioned today about today's production and being able to put it on. And we mentioned earlier on about the CTSA, who have been able to provide us with the funding to get the crew in and put on today's production. You can help the CTSA to help the club by taking part in the Reds rollover. The Reds rollover is £5 a month. But you pay on a direct debit. That money goes into the CTSA, but they then give it to the club to help and support projects. So your support for the CTSA helps them to support the club. So please, if you haven't already, please think about supporting that by paying £5 a month. I mentioned this afternoon from 3 p.m. that you can watch the game live from iFollow. That's fun. You watch the game live 3 p.m. on iFollow. Go to the club's website and follow the links through the iFollow. £10 for non-season ticket holders. If you are a season ticket holder, you should have had a code to your email earlier on yesterday, and you should be able to watch that free of charge. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the gaffer, John Yems. John, professional setup, huh?
It is, yeah. It's like Crossroads.
Thank you for giving up some time on the match day. I know it's busy. Firstly, we've just been through the lineup, a few changes. Are they enforced? Are they chosen? Could you talk us through it?
What ones do you want to know?
So obviously Rick's come in for Ashley Naddison.
Yeah, Adley Naddison twisted his ankle.
Right.
Done his hamstring. He had a fitness test this morning. He wasn't ready. So we've had to jiggle that about a little bit. Sam Ashford done his hamstring yesterday. So he would have been on the bench, but no, other than that, it's just about getting time up, and we're still trying to get time in people's legs and everything. It's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the testament, if you look at losing some of those players, but the players we're bringing in, so Sam Matthews makes his debut for Crawley today, a player that I've heard a lot of people are excited about. What can we expect from him?
He's a very, very good footballer. I've known Sam since he was at Bournemouth with me. I think he'd bring a lot to the side, but once again, it's just finding our feet. It's the same for a lot of the sides, but we're just a little bit behind the gun on a few things because we didn't start as early as some teams for whatever reason. But the boys are buying into everything. As I said before, I hope the supporters and everybody buy into it. Keep the faith and just keep behind the teams. We haven't even started yet, really, have we?
Yeah, you're right. And we were talking yesterday about the games that we have played. We've played a Championship side, a League One side, and a side who finished 1 point outside the playoffs last year, who were a good side in Port Vale. So I'm actually feeling quite positive about the season going forward and the squad we've got.
Yeah, you're always looking at, people have been on to me about, are we missing Ollie, are we missing Bez, are we missing this? Well, you can wish and do all you want, but it's not like we wanted to get rid of them, they wanted to leave. So you've got to let them leave. There's nothing you can do. Ollie was out of contract, Panuch was out of contract, Bez went get sold, and there'll be a lot more of that, I think, as the season goes on for clubs, just to keep afloat.
And we spoke earlier briefly with Erdem about obviously the signing of Tony Craig, an experienced pro who's been around all the different leagues. He comes into a side which has already got Danny Bullman and George Frank, and all three of those players. How important are those players and their experience going to be bringing on the likes of Ricardo, Sam Ashford, Archie Davis, those players?
Yeah, you can't put experience into people. What they've seen and what they've done, you hope gets passed on to them, but you've got to be the right pros to pass it on to people. And like I say, once again, I've known the lads, every player that we've brought in, it's not just on a whim. We like to think we know them, and you are looking, you've got one eye on the future. Obviously, the owners and everyone has supported the club off the pitch, but everybody knows that the budget has been cut due to Corona and everything, and it's just something we've got to live with.
Yeah, I think probably going to be similar for most clubs.
For most clubs, yeah.
But particularly a club of our size. Finally, you've played now a few games behind closed doors. I don't think anyone really ever get used to being behind closed doors, but what impact does it have, if any, on the game itself and on both sides, not playing in front of a crowd?
It's weird. I didn't realise how much it was, because obviously talking to people from last year and the Premiership and everything, but it's when the side's on the ropes a little bit and they haven't got their own crowd getting on their backs. A bit like, sometimes happens here when you're not. And I think that you miss that little G up, you just miss seeing people around. The fans want to come to games, we all want to come and play games, but once again, just to survive to the end of the season, every club just for survival, and that's not just financially and football, it's health and everything, because you just don't know. It's a funny old world out there at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. John, good luck with this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, everything.
Brilliant. Thank you for giving up a bit of time to come.
No worries.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
One way that you can get involved to support the club this afternoon is by getting your dinner from Ballers. So here's an advert for Ballers. Apologies, I understand we had a little glitch there, so apologies if you caught that. But we're back, we're up and running, and grab yourself a Ballers later on to make up for it. One person who never makes a glitch, always on point, is BBC Sussex and Surrey commentator Gary Smith, who joins me now. Gary, thank you for popping up. I know you're broadcasting on the radio, nipping over here and doing our bit, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Gary, obviously covering the radio, you've seen the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
3 defeats, but against sides who are sort of just outside the playoffs, Championship, League One, tough games. What have you made of the start that we've made?
I think it has been tough, Joe, as you say. I mean, Millwall was always going to be a bigger ask, and I think respect to Millwall, they put out a very full-strength side almost, didn't they, in the Carabao Cup game down here. And I think that was respect to the competition and respect to Crawley, and the knowledge that Crawley had a good run in that competition last year. I think, they deserved it on the day. I think anything more than a 2-goal deficit would have possibly flattered Millwall. But I think Crawley played well in patches. It's obviously a new squad, 9 new signings. Some people have departed. There's a lot of people obviously getting used to how people will play. The game at Gillingham, promising away performance, much like we used to say a lot of the time under previous managers. Good away performance, lots of promising things, nothing to show for it at the end of 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think particularly the second half,
Yeah,
Gillingham,
yeah.
we actually battered them. We actually played really well and just couldn't put the ball in the net.
And I think last week at Port Vale, I think John was the first to turn around after the game when I spoke to him to say weren't really at the races. Port Vale, very good side, close to the playoffs last year. Probably would have sneaked into the playoffs if the season had gone right to a conclusion. And I think again they'll be there or thereabouts this time round. I think the disappointing thing last week was the lack of chances that were created, and possibly still trying to play, aiming for someone like Ollie Palmer, who's no longer around, obviously, and get the people running off of that. But John's a brave manager, and he had no problem in sort of changing the formation at half time, going back to a 4-4-2, which is what he's got lined up out there today. He's had to make some changes today. I know he was just telling you about some little injuries that players have got. But I think here, against a side that Crawley beat at home twice last season, once in the Cup, once in the League, I think they'll be getting their first points on the board this afternoon.
Fingers crossed. I hope your optimism proves correct. You mentioned there about not having Ollie Palmer, and I know John mentioned a couple of minutes ago about how we can talk about the players that we haven't got, and it's a waste of time. What differences do you see in the side that we're putting out at the start of this season in comparison to the side that we put out at the end of last season?
I think really at the moment it's a difficult one to gauge, because you can never get a real feel of how the division's going to shape up until maybe sort of 6 to 10 games into the season, as it were. I think for some of the lads who've signed in the summer, it is getting used to the other players that have been around, and the older players getting used to them, and possibly, like I say, having to play in a slightly different way. John went with 3 men up front last week, with Nadesan through the middle, Frost on one side and Ashford on the other, which didn't really work, but you could see that potentially it could work. There were flashes of that.
It doesn't just happen straight away.
No, of course it doesn't. No, it's going to be a lot of work on the training ground, if that is a way that John is going to persist with playing, possibly away from home and even here at the PPS. But I think they're still trying to play the same way. They will still try and play it out. There's, I think, a good mix of youth and experience have now come in with the signings that John has made. You look at Tony Craig, wonderful experience. You look at someone like Tyler Frost, who's a little bit naive, and Archie Davis, who played at right back last week, a little bit naive in their game or whatever. But that's only going to come with playing more games, isn't it?
I think we saw enough from Tyler Frost that in the second half of Gillingham, when he come on, he changed the game.
Absolutely.
That 45 minutes, he was probably by far the best player on the pitch.
And I think Tom Nichols as well, when he came off the bench last week, albeit for the last 15 minutes and maybe the game was gone, he showed enough that he's not going to be your big target man, but get the ball to his feet, let him turn and go at the defence. And suddenly people like Leon Legg last week for Port Vale and the Scunthorpe centre-halves, hopefully today, are sort of backtracking and don't like forwards running at them.
Yeah, and obviously Tom Nichols is going to have to come in today because Ashley Nadesan is not fit, so him and Ricardo. How big a miss do you think Ashley Nadesan is going to be this afternoon?
Yeah, I think he's going to be. I think he will be missed, but this is the sort of thing that's going to happen during the course of the season, isn't it? It's a shame that it's happened so early on. It's a shame that it's happened to him and also happened to Sam Ashford as well. But yeah, I think Ashley, given the run that he was on towards the end of last season, and he's had a couple of half chances in the games that I've seen, hasn't found the back of the net yet, but that's going to come, very, very soon. But I think it will be a miss, but I think John will be the first to say, look, he's not available. The players that step up have got to do their bit and make sure they make it hard for Ashley to get back in the side.
Yeah, and turning to look at this afternoon's game against Scunthorpe,
yeah.
Other than John and Lee and their team of management, I'm assuming the next best clued up person on Scunthorpe is yourself. I can see you've got your notes. What can we expect from Scunthorpe as far as you're concerned?
From what I saw of them last year in the 3 games that we played, 1 away and 2 down here, they're normally a big sort of physical side. They've brought a new manager in themselves over the summer, Neil Cox. Played lots of games for them. Has been assistant manager at the AFC Wimbledon and Notts County before taking over his first managerial role here. He may have them playing a slightly different way. They haven't won a game yet so far this season, neither have Crawley. They have got a couple of draws, Ryan Loft is going to be a player to watch out for this afternoon. They've scored 4 goals so far, Scunthorpe. Loft has got 50% of them. They do make a change this afternoon, and a young German lad has come into the side who's only played about 15, 16 minutes of English football.
Okay.
Strangely,
Unknown quantity.
okay, yeah, strangely that the little bit of time that he did play was for Bristol Rovers. He came on as a sub in place of Tom Nichols.
Yeah.
So now they're on opposite sides of the fence.
And we've obviously got our own German coming in.
Well, exactly.
Ricardo
there you
German.
go.
Oh,
Oh, he's
okay.
all over
That was
it.
a bit,
all over it.
That was a bit cheap. I'm getting too confident. Gary, give us a prediction for this afternoon. What do you reckon's gonna happen here?
Okay, well, I always put the thing out on social media for the fans who can't get into the game at the moment to give me their predictions and thoughts on the team, etc. Everybody is very, very positive. I'm getting predictions of 3-1, 3-0. People don't really mind. I've made a prediction on the radio myself of the fact that Crawley are going to win by 2-0. And I think that will be 3 points that will edge them above Scunthorpe in the table, and then we need to start looking upwards, you know, with the run that Crawley were having towards the end of last season, especially going into what could potentially be a very tough away game next week. John won't want to have 2 defeats on the bounce going into another away game, whereas we know, Joe, away form, points-wise, not always that good.
And you bring me perfectly on to talking about away form. We are delighted to be able to reveal the new away kit today.
Wow.
So, here it is. So here we are. This will be the Reds, or the Blacks on away shirt for the 2020-21 season. As Tom said earlier on, the home shirt, the away shirt, and all the training gear that we've got at Leisure Wear will be on sale in the shop next week. We are coming to the end of our show. As promised, someone will be able to win a version of the away shirt by getting involved on Twitter. Thanks to John Barnett, who's just put hashtag Talk of the Town, loads of clapping hands. So we thank you for that, John. We'll take that. Gerard, aka Mr. V, great pre-match show ahead of Crawley versus Scunthorpe. Come on, you Reds. Tom Martin, the groundsman, saying, I would love a signed shirt. No chance, we will not be putting you in the draw, Tom, I'm afraid. Carol, today we should have been in the terrace for our first EFL home game of the season, but instead I'm sitting watching Joe Comper host some matchday entertainment on YouTube before watching iFollow. A great idea by the club. Thank you very much, Carol. Peter Bellamy liking the concept of this and adds to the matchday experience for fans. Nice one. Ryan, good show so far. Thank you very much. So, yeah, a couple of people asking about Erdem. Will there be a target man from Dan Palmer? We'll see if we get a reply from Erdem on Twitter. We know he's active and he's honest, which is great. Cheesy 001, I'm saying 2-0 to the Reds. Fingers crossed, Cheesy. Liam Green also saying 2-0 with a goal from Nichols and German and a first 3 points of the season. So, that brings us to the end. One thing before we do say, obviously you can watch the game live on iFollow at 3 PM. If you haven't already done it, come off of this stream, on to the next stream, go to the Crawley Town website and follow the instructions there. You can set up an account. If you're a season ticket holder, check your inbox, maybe your spam folder. You will have a code there which takes away the £10 fee and you can watch for free. If you aren't a season ticket holder, firstly, why not? But secondly, you can purchase them just for £10, create an account, put in your payment details and you can watch the game live. Last thing to say, thank you very much again to the CTSA for supporting us today to put on the Talk of the Town. It is something we're going to try and do. We're looking at potentially even taking it on the road, but it's something to do in future, certainly while we're behind closed doors and maybe whilst we are back in the ground as well. So really thank you for them. Please support them to support us by signing up to the Reds rollover. £5 a month, you can win cash prizes, gifts donated by the club. Really great thing to be involved in. Lots of people have commented to me about how they've won cash prizes and stuff from the club. And for the sake of £5 a month, it's really great initiative, and also supporting your football club. Last thing is for me to say thank you for all our guests for joining. Thank you for you for tuning in at home. Please keep the feedback coming in. Things we can improve. We want to hear it because we will do this again. But from here at the People's Pension Stadium, fingers crossed the Reds get on the points board this afternoon. We will speak to you soon. Details for iFollow will be on after me. Thank you for joining. We'll see you again soon.